to a moment with Vivacious. Over here, we're thinking and changing the world. And today, we have with us a real world changer. Mr. CJ, how are you?
I am wonderful.
Introduce yourself.
I am CJ. I'm a freedom fighter. But before I begin, Vivacious, I come in the name of Kendrick Johnson, who was murdered in Valdosta, Georgia, placed in mats, and his mom is still fighting for justice. I come in the name of Marc Wilson, who's currently incarcerated for defending himself here in Georgia. Carey Jenkins, who was unarmed when police killed him. Oscar Kane, and Juicy. Just to name a few of the folks that I come in. Just a freedom fighter. The titles are irrelevant. I'm just a servant.
That's beautiful. I just had a moment of silence, a personal moment of silence for those named. So tell us about this, your service. What do you do?
Whew. If you ask my mother, she would tell you that I was born a freedom fighter. Ever since I was little, there was this picture of white families standing over two bodies that were lynched, that were burned, and they were taking pictures, and they were smiling. And then watching the images of roots and slavery as a child, and then watching the civil rights in the Eyes on the Prize, and watching dogs attack my family, my community, watching water holes being sprayed. And so when I used to sleep, I could still hear the screams of the slaves jumping to the sharks rather than become slaves in America. And so when I realized that all we got was integration for that, and that our land was stolen, our resources were stolen, and that we were still fighting, I knew that nothing mattered in this world unless we were free. And so my whole life has been dedicated to the liberation of black and brown people and poor people, oppressed people around the world, my entire life. That's all I ever cared about. And so it's just been in my DNA. And so it's like no trick, no job. It's just freedom and liberation. It's like my championship, my MVP.
Tell us a little bit about the organizations and the travel you do, because I want people to know that, so when we start talking about things that happen in the city, they'll know with the intensity you do those things. But I'm gonna tell you, the movie that hit me the most about our past as slaves was Django. I could not watch that movie in all one setting. I could not watch that movie in all one setting. And I was just talking about, I'm not going to keep talking about it because I don't want to.
No, you can talk about it.
I saw the movie 6th. That happened January 6th.
Yes.
And it had almost that same, like, oh my God, how can people be so hateful kind of movie, you know? That would motivate you to move. But I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, we're chopping it up. It's good. It's good. It's a conversation.
Tell us about some of the things you do.
Well, my first protest that I led, I was 13 years old. I was attending a predominantly white school that our bus got hijacked. And so some guys came on the bus with guns and put guns to the bus driver's head, pulled over the bus, and of course, it's kidnapping of college students who are going to a predominantly white school. And so, of course, there's a lot of press, and this happened in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And so it was a lot of press there. And so at the time, our principal went on the air, on these airwaves, and he said that we came out to South Milwaukee High School to escape the violence, and we were in fear of living in our communities. And so at 13 years old, I went up into my principal's office and said, no, my mother sent us out here because the education is better and there was more resources out here. And so with all due respect, you're gonna go back out there to those same news cameras and retract your statement. And so my principal refused to do so, so I led an all-black student boycott and protest, which turned the narrative. I didn't know I was organized or that I was organizing. I just knew that's why I was not at South Milwaukee. And so that's like where it originally started. From there, volunteering, I co-founded Campaign Violence with Muhib Dair, Kwame Nixon, Rob Biko Baker, who has a PhD from UCLA and is now a professor at University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. We started campaigning against violence in relationship with Mothers Against Gun Violence. And so working in Milwaukee, as a volunteer originally, dealing with gun violence and dealing with Scott Walker, who was the county executive before he became governor, and Sheriff David Clark. So we were against oppression and bad policy as a young adult. And so I left Campaign Against Violence and became state director for the League of Young Voters, where Billy Wim sat, who was executive director, and then eventually became nationally training director for the League of Young Voters, and then became deputy director. And in that process, building relationships, doing God's work, and being a servant, I sat on Generational Alliance's board, and so worked at the White House doing Obama's administration, doing policy for the Youth Promise Act. And then in 2005, I was given the opportunity to work with Harry Belafonte. So throughout my work, I've been blessed to have these amazing friends who are brilliant. And coming from Milwaukee as a college dropout, had my son at 20, my friends are so brilliant, I never thought that I was worthy to be in these rooms, right? Like, I would go into these rooms and not understand the language, not understand the vocabulary, and not feel worthy. And my friends used to always tell me, like, CJ, you're doing the work, and like, put me in these rooms, put me on these platforms to lead. And it's because of really my friends and my colleagues that I'm here with you today, because I know what it feels like to be powerless, to feel hopeless, to feel like your voice doesn't matter. And so my whole life is to reach back and to find leaders so that I can pass the baton.
With that being said, I want to say thank you for being here today, because I heard you don't do interviews.
I don't.
But you came here with us today, so
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about Harry Belafonte. You know, I only got to see him on the screen.
I don't want
He
to cry.
seems like he's an intriguing person.
Oh my God, I don't even want to cry. Like, we call him Mr. B, right? So I love Mr. B so much. When I met Mr. B, he formed the Gathering for Justice in 2005. A 5-year-old was arrested for being unruly. And so Mr. B, because of his work in the civil rights movement, he knew that something needed to be done, so he called a gathering of the elders in Atlanta. And after the gathering of the elders, he called a gathering of the youth. And so that's where me and Malia Lazu, who's amazing, if y'all don't know Malia Lazu, Carmen Perez, it was so many people. If I forget you, please don't judge me. Like, I don't know how much time I got in this interview, but all of my friends are super dope. And so we met in Epps, Alabama with the elders. And so for me, I didn't know who Mr. B was. Like, I was happy to see Diane Nash. And for those of you who don't know who Diane Nash is, Diane Nash was 18 years old from Chicago. She went to Fisk University. And when the Freedom Rides got bombed, and the president called and told them to end the Freedom Rides, Diane Nash said that we've already signed our death certificates and we're continuing with the Freedom Rides. And so I always wanted to meet Diane Nash, and so she was there. And so to sit with Diane Nash was such an honor to me. And so everybody was like clamming around Harry Belafonte. And again, like I told you, I didn't feel like I even belonged in these rooms, so I stayed quiet. I was just happy to be in the space. And so, for some reason, Mr. B just took a liking to me. And my grandfather, my mother's dad, my father's dad died on the same day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I didn't have any more elders. And so I was telling Mr. B, like, look, I know you a celebrity dude, but I'm hurting. If you're not gonna be my godfather, and like, if I can't reach you, if you can't love on me and be there for me, like, just let me do the work. Like, cause I'm not here for like celebrity, right? Mm-hmm. And he was like, who is this dude, right? Like, he was like, and he just poured into my spirit and like took me with him. We had a gathering of the Asian folks in Santa Fe. We had a gathering of the indigenous in Onondaga in New York and in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We had a gathering of poor whites in Knoxville, Tennessee. And so Mr. B not only gave me a community of elders of different ethnicities, but he taught me that it's not just about black, but it's about humanity. And the stories he would tell me about Dr. King, and the stories he would tell me about being with Nelson Mandela, and can we curse on here? Because I want to tell you what I don't know if we can curse.
Bad.
I'm gonna bleep it out. I'm gonna bleep it out, but look, I never wanted to be a leader because I just wanted to be a servant, because I know when you're a leader, people try to look for flaw and throw stones, and all I want to do is just free my people. Like, that's why I really don't do interviews. I just want to do the work. And so he sat all the elders around me and he told me, CJ, you're a leader, so S or get off the pot. And so the way he just loved me and he loved on my son, and I watched him not care about celebrity and he loved on people, right? I understand that it's about humanity, and I understand that it's about being a servant. And so Mr. B may not be with us, but I still talk to him, and he's always with me, and he's in spirit with me. And so his daughters, I still talk to Gina and reach out to Gina Belafonte, and so Carmen's doing phenomenal with the Gathering for Justice. And so what he gave us lives on, and it's proof that your legacy, if you plant seeds, and you live righteous and you do it the right way, then you will forever live. And so Mr. B will never be dead. But it's my dude. Like I could go on and on about Mr. B because he's like my godfather, my godfather for real. So that's my dude.
Being a woman is so good to hear those things because we just see this handsome man debonaering.
Oh, please. Please. He's such a hater. Oh, my goodness. Oh, he would be cheesing if you said that. He came to Milwaukee and the old women was wearing their finest garments, and I was like, oh, you are nuts, dude. I love that dude.
Yeah, well, we see something different, but I'm glad to see it all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a good thing. So tell me, what is the goal, your goal, when you're out building cities, and what are you getting? What are you doing?
Well, personally for me, as a co-founder of Black Men Build, we have 8 cities where in Miami, Brooklyn, New York, Milwaukee, Detroit, St. Louis, Columbus, Ohio, Atlanta, Georgia, Los Angeles, we have these hubs where we have healing circles where men and now women can come to get healing. We provide therapists to have healing for our folks. There's so much trauma that folks deal with on a day-to-day basis. As an organizer, I tell my organizers that I can't tell you to do anything that I'm not willing to do, right? So every day when I look in the mirror, I'm working on forgiveness. I'm working on loving myself, loving my community, being a better person. Even if I'm the executive director, you might see me taking out the trash or feeding folks, right? I cannot actually do anything that I'm not willing to do. And so we have to work on ourselves first before we can actually do God's work, right? Mm-hmm. And so going to Cuba and seeing the socialism and seeing how they feed communities, see how they do education. They had this illiteracy program. Fidel saw that they had 26% illiteracy rate, right? And so they had a reading campaign, and by the end of the year, it went to 0.001%, right? And so with Black Men Build, we feed the community 4 or 5 days a week. We do political education. We do health, where in Miami, we have a doctor from the University of Miami that provides health care 3, 4, 5 days a week. In St. Louis, we have a health van, free chess, free yoga. All of these systems and these programs that we have are free to the community, and that's on a $2 to $3 million budget, right? And so the money that we spend on elections, which are needed, we need elected officials to pass on resources and do things on policy in our self-interest. But if we really just rely on ourselves, right, we can do so many amazing things. And so my goal, we'll get to Ferguson, but we really don't need anyone. We're the ones we've always been waiting for, right? And so we can feed our people, we can clothe our people, we can provide mental health for our people, we can love on our people, we can create jobs for our people, and we're doing that in 8 cities right now on a limited budget, right? And so all of my friends are brilliant, and we're, just like Project 2025 is strategizing, we're also strategizing. I'm not going to tell my strategies to my enemy over the airwaves, but we're strategizing too to help heal our communities and to bring resources to our communities as well.
We just need to know that there is a strategy.
Most definitely.
Against 2025.
I told you my people are smart. I told you I got some brilliant people, man. I'm blessed to be in the rooms with folks and for them to even want to hear my voice, because I know that I do good work, but I'm just proud of my colleagues. Like, they're brilliant.
So selfless. Mm-hmm. So, I'm going to talk about this.
What you want to talk about?
I want to talk about, I want to say, wait. I want to talk about something you, I just want to, I want to say how I feel about it.
Okay.
And then you tell me what you're thinking. I mean, you know, help me see it another way.
Okay.
I don't think, it started out with me way back, but it elevated with me when they say, that's something, they want to bring the Bible in school, but they don't want to feed the children. What happened to people feeding their own children? And let me tell you, I know people hungry. You know, I will feed the little children too. But the more we depend on the government for everything, when they come and snatch this away, I imagine all of this stuff, okay? In my mind, I'm imagining, oh God, if Trump gets to be the president, y'all ain't gonna have no food stamp. Y'all need to learn how to feed yourselves. Well, we should have never leaned on that in the first place. My daddy was a single parent too. He fed us. And that might be some of how I feel.
Okay.
Now, don't get me wrong, because there are people that need help.
Right.
All right? I have fed people. I will give somebody my last if it's gonna save their life. If we both gonna live, if I give you what I'm holding, then we both gonna live. I'm gonna give it to you because that's life, right? I'm not gonna see you die and I'm holding something. That's not gonna be to me. But I think that people need help is true. But people don't need to be taken care of. I think we need to stop doing some of that stuff. Tell me what you think. How you feel about it?
It's dope because I feel like I'm talking to my auntie. My auntie RG gonna say this. Like I feel like me and my auntie have these conversations all the time.
But you know, this is going to help the world see both sides.
Yeah.
Like, don't y'all ask for another doggone thing. Like they give you the rent money, you spend the rent money.
Yeah.
The people can't collect the rent, so they can't pay for their house.
Right.
So now when the people can put you out, they put you out, but they still leave their house. Now you left everybody with nothing. Why you didn't give the people the rent money they gave you to pay the rent?
Yeah, I got you. I'm with you. We on the same page. But this is
We don't
my,
have to be.
This is on my pivot. This is my only pivot, right? When Dr. King said that we're integrated into a burning house, right? And so we have to really be honest with ourselves, right? We integrated with folks who were lynching us, who was burning us, right? Our enemy does not want us to succeed, right? And if you go to Frances Cress Welsing when she talks about genetical annihilation, right? This system is designed to keep us oppressed, right? And so when we integrated into this system, not only we give up our businesses, we gave up education, we gave up everything that we had. The dollar now circulates in seconds. It leaves our community when it used to circulate multiple times. And so subconsciously being lynched, being burned, dogs, hoses, crack cocaine that was given to us knowingly by the CIA, mass incarceration, policy, all of these conditions, and nobody that's black has any power. And that's an illusion that we need to like really break away. We don't have ownership of anything. And so if you don't have power, if you don't have ownership, how can you really control your destiny, right? And so what I do is I try to see people where they are, right? And not as where I want them to be. So I don't look at you should be doing this because I made it out, or I just see the conditions. Like, while folks are infighting and worrying about Diddy and worrying about Kendrick Lamar, I'm looking at how do I free us globally, right? I'm playing chess, right? I don't have time for distractions. And so I know that this game has been a long game of chess. Like Project 2025 didn't just pop up now, but they're so arrogant and so confident in their ability in their power that they're now showing us their strategy. Republicans never did that. They never showed strategy. They never showed their hand. But they're so confident that we are so divided that they can do anything. And I'm here to tell the world and to tell you that we can do anything if we believe it, right? And so I just see the world different through a different lens. I believe that we can do anything. And I don't look at it as, I don't look at it through that lens. Mr. B always told me, there's a seat on the bus for everybody, but not every seat is for everybody. And so it's my job. If the destination that the bus is driving to is liberation and freedom, it's my job to figure out who's the bus driver, who's giving out water. When the bus driver's tired, who's going to take his place? Who's going to be the ones passing out the flyers? I got to get everybody in their right seat. And I'm not going to always do it right. My colleagues are not going to always do it right. But we are very confident that the destination is liberation.
And I think that integration was a facade because we still integrated.
Yes, yes.
And the more I think about it, the worst part of integration is the church.
You've been having folks mad. Ooh, you've been having folks mad. Yeah.
To an all-loving God.
And a dollar. Integration too, because I forgot which president said it. I think it was J. Edgar Hoover in COINTEL. Like the greatest threat to American democracy was black liberation and like black nationalists. And so when you have economics, you know, every country has economics and they have a military defense to protect them. What do black Americans not have? We spend trillions of dollars on trinkets, but we rely on a government that's militarized to harass us, beat us, get pensions, pay leave. We don't have anybody to defend us, right? So we're really here defenseless and helpless. So, and economically, we have no funds. Like,
well, I thank God we have some people rising to defend us.
You're looking at it. You're looking.
That's right.
You're looking at it.
And I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for that.
But even yourself too, like my college students with Children Defense Fund that I work with, we have a Black Student Leadership Network, right? And they're black students from all over the country that we've been working with Center for Third World Organizing. And some of them are going to be lawyers, some will be doctors, some will be journalists, right? To have a civic mind, to want what's best for your people. Gordon Parks, for example, uses photography. James Brown uses music, right? And so that's the seat on the bus, right? So whatever your role is, just use it to liberate us.
And I want them to know you don't have to have that big old title. You could be the mechanic.
Come on, yeah.
Still rob me blind and get rich.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this.
Wait, hold on. You said that quietly. I don't know if they could turn that up. That's too funny. That is too funny.
I want to talk about this though.
Okay.
I see things differently. I guess I see through your auntie's eyes.
Okay.
When we were coming up, our neighborhood was solid. Dad was a single parent. The ladies helped him parent us. That's a big deal to me. Natasha daddy was a pharmacist. My daddy was a postman, but he had a cleaners. Joanne daddy had the store. And now, they say they bring these drugs and guns in our neighborhood. I believe that.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, my godson say, well, you know where I'm from in my city.
Where?
They call it New Orleans.
I went to school in Baton Rouge.
Oh, okay.
Southern University.
It's not quite New Orleans, but it's almost there. So he said, I was standing by, and he said the name of the street, Tara Lane. Well, if you're from New Orleans, you know what Tara Lane is. And I saw some men drop guns off. I saw it. I believe it because he's not going to lie to me. You know, he's trying too hard to get me to believe some stuff, and I listened to him a lot of the times. So we saw that, and we took it, and generation after generation, we saw it destroy us. Why are we? I gotta say this because we gotta see every point.
Yeah.
Why are we still taking it? Why are we and still blaming somebody else for us being that crazy? We weren't always that crazy. We can't blame that on a slave mind because that's not how it was. And it may be just because of how it was for me, why it's hard for me to understand that people use this as an excuse. If you saw drugs destroy 3 generations, why in the, I want to say one of those H words like that, you still, but I'll say the opposite of what I want to say. Why in the heaven you still doing that? You saw it kill your mama, you saw it kill your uncle, you saw it kill your grandfather. Why are you still doing that and rejecting anything that could help you? I know that's a whole lot of psychology and sociology to go along with that. But I mean, just on a principle.
I mean, it breaks my heart too. Like the sentiments that you sharing, I feel those. But it's unfortunately, like you said, the psychology is complicated. And I'm gonna share with you another story. I was I was in a place one time, and I was judging someone, and a stranger came up to me out the blue and was like talking to me like I was a leader, didn't know me. And as I was talking, like we were having this conversation, I judged somebody that walked past very much with the sentiment that you said. But this person knew that person and told me about that person's character. And so like in this war zone that we're in, and we're definitely in a war zone, it's not for me to look at my community and say, I made it out, I understand. I'm just thankful and grateful that I'm alive and awake and conscious, and my third eye is open so that I can reach back and help my folks, because I understand why they're broken. I understand why they give up. I understand the conditions that we're in, the poverty. Like, I've lived in these conditions. I've been in shootouts. I've been in the worst conditions imaginable. I was in Milwaukee feeding the community at 2:00 p.m. It was a line to feed the community. It was a shooting. And now these people have to decide, do they hop out of line and risk not feeding their family or save their life because they're shooting? And then also, they were comfortable, right, with the shooting going on. And so these are the conditions when I go around the country and I see these conditions, I don't judge them because they don't have the power. I know that my organizers and canvassers, who society will say they will be robbing people or breaking in houses, are now politically educated and knocking on doors for Kamala Harris right now, right? And so if we have the systems in place to provide resources, to provide the political education, to give them self-confidence and self-awareness, then I know we could change the world. And the reason why I can say that is because in Cuba, I saw it. Like, I saw it in real time. And so there's an embargo in Cuba, but because they don't say there's an embargo on the Black and brown communities here in America, there's an embargo on our communities as well. And they have a militarized police to keep us in check. And they allow some of us to be affluent, to get educated and to make it out, so that we can say, I made it out, look at y'all. There is no them or us, we all we got.
Well, I heard you. But look, I don't feel that way. My story is a tough story. And I made it out by the grace of God.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I have my mind is amazing to me and can only be God. And that's why I work a lot with people that's mental health. And I talk about our Black situation, our situation as a people, because it's the world, to me, that's my world. But the world, my real world that I face every day, there's no color to that. There's no, I have to love all the children. I'm all of their grandmas. I'm a dear every one of them. Boy, if you don't get it, they don't like it. But you know what? Those children love correction. But they also know that these are the arms they could come be held in, you know? So that means everything to me. But I want to know, I've been wanting to meet somebody. Because I want to know.
Now, let's be clear. I tell my people when I go do training, I don't have all the answers. Okay. I just know some things.
Hear this question.
Okay.
How are we reaching way over all of our successes like they never had it, like we never had success? You know, it's just like the same thing. After I saw this movie, The Sixth, that's about what happened on January 6th. Well, it was before I saw the movie when I knew a little bit about it. Don't know what's going to happen, if there's going to be rioting. You know, if that man don't win, God knows what our world is going to turn into and if it'll ever be the same. If that man wins, you still don't know what's the world going to. This one thing I preach in every area I go. Look, if they come here and they're rioting, we will not burn down our cities. We will not destroy where we live. I don't say go destroy any place else, but I want us to understand where did you get that from? That's what they do when they want to get rid of us. They destroy our cities.
The rioting? Well...
No, not the rioting, the
destruction of our city?
Of our own.
Well...
You mad because somebody got killed, so you could start burning down your house. That is crazy stuff. But they mad because you got some money and they burned down.
Yeah.
You know, have we become our own enemy?
I don't think so.
I guess that's what I'm asking.
I think that we've become westernized. So, in a sense, yes. we have become our enemy because now in Cuba they say, in America we put things over people, and in Cuba they put people over things.
Got that right.
And here we put trinkets and things over people. We really are now capitalistic. We don't have community. There's not communities anymore. Everybody's out for themselves. And so, but to speak a little bit about the riots, when I was in Ferguson, had Mike Brown laid on the ground.
We need to start the Ferguson story from the beginning.
You need to start from the beginning?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're going to tell a whole story about Ferguson.
Okay.
I don't want to get to the end and we miss
Oh,
part of the
okay.
beginning. Yeah.
All right, well, just from riots, I think that being a part of riots and leading protests, I think that civil disobedience is needed. Power doesn't react unless there is civil disobedience. If you're not organizing, if you look at what they just did with the unions on the East Coast in the strike, right? To be organized, right? To know that the people that you're negotiating with, when negotiations fail and they have billions of dollars that's going to be lost, we're talking about economics now, right? And so now they want to negotiate, but these contracts could have been signed, but they thought that they couldn't organize even though they had a union. So you're talking about a black community that's not organized, right? That's divided, right? That has so many different vices to keep us separated, and it's so hard. When we were segregated, it was easier for us to organize. When we were segregated, it was easier for us to combine our resources and our money to, when they stopped, they boycotted the buses, right? The community was able to chip in. Sidney Poitier, Marlon Brando, Harry Belafonte, these superstars were a part of, these were the same superstars who had to go still stay in black hotels and colored hotels. But now our superstars are on islands and yachts and on G5 planes. And so there's a disconnect until you get like a Puffy or you get like a R. Kelly. When you get your come to that you're still OJ moment, and for some reason we think that we're a part of the system. This system doesn't care about you, right? The system, and if you actually listen to what's happening, they're not reproducing. And so that's why you snatch Roe versus Wade, and where now you're getting rid of abortion, right? They have really been telling their policies on air, on Fox News. And so if you just listen to what's happening in the world and what's happening in war, the empire here is crumbling, and we just have to organize. We have to organize, and that's the only, but it's so difficult because folks have trauma, folks want job titles, folks want money, folks want to be on a camera. And so, and we're not segregated. And so when you're integrated and you have abundance of money and you have influence and you have social media and people want to be influencers, to talk about liberation and freedom where it's like, if I get some money and I get a car, I'm free. It's different because I get phone calls from mothers at 2 a.m. asking can I get their kids out of jail, right, for murder or for defending themselves or because they were beaten by police or by murdered by police. I have so many families who made it and achieved the American dream who thought that America was one way until it's not. Until I get that phone call and say, I thought that the system, if I just did it the right way. And until, like you said about humanity, until I start treating the white child like my child, the Asian child like my child, until they start loving black people and not just our culture, we're never gonna be free here. That's just my thinking.
Well, my thing is, if we start loving ourselves, and I understand what you're saying about civil distress, but I'm saying don't do it and don't burn your house down. Where you gonna sleep? That's placing you in more dependency on people who don't care about you. So don't burn your house down. Don't tear up your neighborhood.
I agree. To me, I think that you should go shut down freeways. You should go shut down malls. You should do civil disobedience where it shuts down their pockets. So, but again, when you are, when you have been constantly bombarded and under attack, I can't tell someone who's a victim how to react, right? And it's very difficult to teach political education in the midst of civil unrest. And so that's why we need And why campaigns really mess up is that they knock on doors during campaign seasons and talk about elections. But meanwhile, throughout the year, there's no political education. Our community don't know what the school board does. They don't know what the mayor does. They don't know anything about budgets. They don't know anything about how resources connect. But then they come into community and ask you who you're voting for, right? And then they show up only during electoral cycles, right? If we had programs where 365 days a year, we were politically educating our folks on what the district attorney does, which is the person that locks you up, right, on nonviolent offenses and takes away your liberation, right? What does the mayor do? What does the governor do? What does the school board do? What are the resources? What can you fight for? If they were doing that and putting resources towards education, imagine how many young people will be educated by the time they're 18 on their right to vote, right? They don't even have to be 18. During the 60s, you had young people carrying signs. You had young people doing sit-ins. So the Panthers was 17, 18. So if we were educating 365 days a year instead of just educating when I'm seeing so many ads, if we were focusing that same attention on educating us, we could change this overnight.
Exactly, and that's what I did when I gave my political rallies. I went into poor neighborhoods and made a little meal and told everybody to come out. Mm-hmm. And I let them know I invited everybody, but these are the people that came. Mm-hmm. And the people that was running for an office, I made them say, first of all, what they do. And I wanted them to not leave without asking these people, did you hear what I do? Out of what I do, if I win, how can I help you? Mm-hmm. Because that, to me, earns a vote. Mm-hmm. I have a friend that wanted to run for office. I said, I want to do it, but you know what I'm going to do? The area where you're running in, I want to go into the depressed areas where nobody go. You don't go to that side. I'm on the south side. Mm-hmm. I'm for the down man. Mm-hmm. I want to go from here. I want to go on the south side, and I want to let these people know you count. Mm-hmm. Your voice count. Mm-hmm. You know why they're always over there listening? Because they're at the city council meetings. Mm-hmm. Do you know who's your city councilman? Mm-hmm. So, and then in one neighborhood, one area where I'm working, I really want to start a literacy program. Okay. Children are failing because their parents can't help them. Mm-hmm. My daddy helped us with our homework. You know, parents can't help them. Somebody have to teach them. Mm-hmm. And I taught an assistant for a little while, but that's not what we talking about today.
We talking about everything. So wherever you want to go, this is your show.
No, I don't want to talk about that.
This is your show.
But look, I don't want to run out of time before we start talking about your work in Ferguson. Okay,
my work in Ferguson. So this is the 10-year anniversary of the assassination and murder of Mike Brown. I was sitting in Atlanta, and Malik, who is the founder of Occupy the Hood, gave me a phone call, and I was watching really kids be sprayed with tear gas and shot with rubber bullets. And he said, CJ, we're driving to Ferguson. And so I drove to Ferguson, and what turned into was supposed to be a weekend ended up being a whole year in Ferguson. And for 4 days, I'm 48 years old, and for 4 days in America, I was free in America. And that's because we knew who our enemy was. And so for 4 days, there was no infighting, there was no violence outside. Food was coming in. People were communicating with us from Palestine, from Cuba, from Dominican Republic, telling us on how to protect ourselves from the tear gas. Everybody knew that National Guard was coming in, that we had a curfew, and that this was our resistance. And at 10:30, we're not going inside, right? We were doing protests in the streets. We were doing protests in the malls. Food was coming in. Those who were homeless, we were making sure that they had shelter over their heads. It was such a love. It was the elders watching the babies. It was everything that liberation in a community is supposed to be. I saw in Ferguson for 4 days. But I got outsmarted. It wasn't the tear gas, it wasn't the military, it wasn't the National Guard. What they did was they instituted a 3-second rule. And the 3-second rule was, well, first let me backtrack. So our curfew was 10:30 or 10 o'clock. They started bombing us around 8:30. And so when they bombed us around 8:30, we had elderly people out there, we had people in wheelchairs, we had children out there that we had to rush to safety. So they started bombing us with tear gas and rubber bullets earlier than the curfew. Then in the morning of 5 a.m., the police and National Guard set up police and barricades on every corner, right? And so it's 100 degrees outside. And so we met at this Quick Trip that was burned down. We used to meet at the Quick Trip where all of our supplies, all the water, all the food was. The police had set up a fence at the Quick Trip, forcing us to go further down the street to meet, which goes against our civil disobedience if we're listening to you telling us where to go. And so at 5 a.m., when folks are coming out, 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., if you stop for longer than 3 seconds, which is unconstitutional, which we proved in the courts was unconstitutional, they were snatching people and taking them to jail. They didn't care about the Constitution, which took away our leadership, which forced folks to march in circles in 100-degree weather. So by the time 10 o'clock came, most of our leadership was in jail. Folks were too tired and burnt out from marching for 8 to 10 hours, and we didn't have a meeting place. So they removed our elderly, they removed our babies, they removed our culture, they removed our music, our song of freedom that led us to the revolution, and we got outsmarted, and then they also brought in money. And so when in Ferguson, when it was about Mike Brown and justice for Mike Brown and liberation, they brought in billionaires, and they started giving organizations money. And when you have poor people who are seeing people from National come in and get money, then they start trying to figure out how they can get money. And then it becomes, oh, the world is watching Ferguson. So then folks are now running for mayor, and folks are on television, and folks have these organizations, and now they're lifting up one organization, but not lifting up, and they just created divisiveness and confusion, right? When it was so beautiful and so pure. So while everybody's talking about Ferguson, nobody's talking about the tactics and the strategies that were used. And so I look at the tactics and the strategies of how they stopped what could have been the key to liberation and the blueprint. And so we talk about the tactics and strategies of why we lost, and because I was there for 8 months to a year, what they try to do is they try to wait you out. We're talking about unlimited resources. Their money is unlimited, their military is unlimited. So they just waited us out until we eventually went our separate ways, right? But if you're going to be free, then you got to be here for the long haul.
Right, and this is one thing I understood from the civil rights movement. I was a little girl, and my daddy was saying, that's bad people. You don't want to be a part of that. Yeah, Daddy, I want to go to the project. I want to go out. I want to go out. But they hung in there, and they hung together, and like nobody caught that bus no matter what. You know, nobody caught that bus no matter what. And then when I was watching the movie, it was like Martin Luther King, till they got to the point, who is that in? You know, I don't want to say the N-word. This was what the president was saying. Our voices have to come so loud, become so loud and become so united till they say, who are those ends down there? You know, and until we get to that point, you know, we have to stop being so distracted by material things, you know, and it's so, you're not cool to me because you're a multi-billionaire when you could have made a whole bunch of people a millionaire. You don't impress me. I don't care how you shake half naked over the stage. I see your little girl is not half naked on the stage. Why you want to make my little girl I don't have no little girl, but if I had one, naked over the stage, I'm not impressed by you.
Right.
You're not a big deal to me.
Right.
You know, so when are we gonna ever get that picture to know that we have to become that voice that make them notice? That's what the president said, and everybody just loves John F. Kennedy. But from the movie I saw, John F. Kennedy was perturbed by us, and he did what he had to do. But thank God, whatever reason it was, to shut us up, not because we had power together moving forward. How do we? Wait, let me rephrase that question.
Okay.
How you gonna get us to do this right now?
I don't think
now.
It's not me.
Yes, it is you.
It ain't.
Just like Harry told you.
It ain't me.
He told you, S or get off the pot.
It ain't me, right?
You are one of those people.
Yeah, but the beautiful thing is like, because of the reason like my ancestors didn't jump into the ocean and some chose to come here, some escaped to freedom knowing that they can be killed. I'm just planting seeds. I may not see it in my lifetime. I don't even have to see it in my lifetime. My only obligation is to give everything I have to my people while I'm breathing. And if I do that, it's okay. So I don't have to see freedom in my lifetime, right? But I know we're gonna get there. And as long as I don't sell my soul and I continue to be a servant, that's my only responsibility here. Like that's all that I'm supposed to do. I don't need to be on camera. I don't need awards. All I need to do is give my best to free my people. And don't get me wrong, I kick it and have fun. Like I have a ball, but even if I'm out, I'm still looking for leaders. I'm still looking for folks that I can identify as a leader. But I don't have to see it in my generation. Like Mr. B is not with us.
We have to see it. We at the end. We're gonna turn one way or another.
Yeah, but
so we have.
But see, that's you familiar with Nipsey Hussle?
Yes.
Okay. So when he talks about the marathon continues, right? So it's not a race. So liberation is not a race. It's a marathon.
No,
as much as I want to see it, as much as I want to see it, as much as I want to have freedom, as much as I want we talked about my grandbaby and your grandbaby, as much as I want my grandbaby to see it, I'm fighting for your grandbaby, I'm fighting for my grandbaby. If I don't live, but I promise you, I got like 100 people that I've trained. I have like 100 college students. I have like 100 organizers that I will never die. And my passion, my empathy, and my unconditional love is in them. So it's a marathon. CJ, it's not a race.
Look.
Yes, ma'am.
I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong.
Okay.
We got to do something quick.
I believe you.
I mean, with this election coming, if this man lose, it's going to be not good. If this man win, we got a different fight, but it's going to be not good. Okay? I believe we at that pivotal point where America is going to save itself or America going to die.
Yes. The empire is crumbling, but when I speak about liberation, I'd be remiss if I don't think about my family and the other countries that I visited who are oppressed as well. So America is crumbling, but it's up to us to create the bridge so that we can get free together. It's crumbling, and urgency, definitely the sense of urgency is there, but I'm not worried.
I have really enjoyed this interview.
Me too.
This has been so real. And I'm going to have to get your phone number so I can call you up sometime because...
Yeah, I told you my Auntie Audrey.
Not only my,
I told you,
not only my mic, but people have to hear it. You know, people have to hear it. Right now is the day people don't even come out. You know what I'm saying? People have to hear what you have to say. You're full of too much. You don't want to be like them people holding those billions, and you could have made a whole bunch of millionaires holding your billion. You got to talk about it.
I do when I do, just not on this.
God just blessed me, right?
Yeah, and you blessed me.
Mister.
And you blessed me. And you blessed me.
Leave us with something, Mr. CJ.
To leave you with something.
Yeah.
As Dr. King said, faith is taking the first step without seeing the whole staircase. There's a seat on the bus for everyone, but not every seat is for everyone. And I truly believe that you have to practice what you preach. So please work on your trauma. Please work on your pain. Please work on forgiving people. Please work on loving family, loving community. And if you do that, we'll be all right.
Thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure.
I enjoyed that.
I enjoyed it too.
This was really good.